Thanks for tuning in to Becoming Something, where we promise to keep the conversation honest and real for young adults in their 20s and 30s. Every moment we live is training for a future moment, and that's why we do this podcast, because we want you to be prepared for everything that life is going to throw at you. Our hope with this podcast is that it would help you become all that God desires you to be. So with that in mind, let's jump right in to this week's episode of Becoming Something.
What's up, podcast world? It's your boy JP, and sometimes I feel like I'm all alone in the podcast studio because these guys.
We're here.
No,
Your
I
best
don't feel like you.
friends.
I feel like you squeeze us in your busy schedule, and you're not here. That's
feel
what I
like-
noticed. Is like your mind
No.
is somewhere else.
No, I was here early. I was ready. I've already prayed for this episode. I'm good to go.
What did you pray?
I thought God would give us the wisdom and the scripture and the questions to ask, and that we pick a topic that people need to hear.
When
Pray
did you
for
pray
God
that?
to multiply our friendship, even.
Multiply
Yeah.
our friendship.
I don't know, multiply. Like,
Wait, hold on.
like,
What does that mean?
you know, like make us even
multiply,
better friends.
multiply
Maybe
our
not
friendship.
multiply. Well, yeah, with the listeners.
Give us friends through the listeners.
No.
I'm not trying to troll. Did you really pray that?
Yes. I
When did
prayed
you do that?
I got here when y'all were still finishing up, so I prayer walked.
okay.
I was praying
Oh,
for it.
wow. That's great.
Yeah.
Guys, Be So Live tickets.
Yes. You could really
They-
come be
They're
our
on
friends.
sale.
They might be gone by
Okay,
the time this comes
seriously?
out. I don't know. We've sold. We're on pace for the most. Yeah, we're
Like the
selling a lot,
quickest sell.
which is fun.
That's awesome.
People want to come.
That's wild. That they. I mean, I was like
Do I need to get a
over
ticket or
like over 100 sold like instantly.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Right. I mean, as of right now, we're probably like 33% sold.
The fun thing is people have been messaging like, "Oh, I finally got tickets." Like that's so exciting. People have
For
been
sure.
wanting to come the past 2 years and I missed it, and this is the year.
Yeah.
Do you
Have-
feel that way?
I mean, I'm really like, am I even going? Did y'all get me a ticket?
It depends. Like,
what do I do? I don't
what?
understand.
Let's negotiate your cost right now on the line.
Yeah, I
How
mean,
much
like,
do I have to pay you to be there?
no comments. Like I can't wait to just be there.
Wow, this
No
is
comments.
interesting.
No comments.
I can't tell if I'm excited for this or I feel so awkward.
I feel awkward if it helps.
What'd
I
you
can
say?
tell you how I feel. I feel awkward. But can't wait to be there.
Hey, you didn't you
That's funny.
didn't say that I'm here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, our
Yeah.
names.
Guys, my back has just been killing me
Why?
You've been
from
working out.
carrying this podcast.
Oh my gosh, dude, you're ridiculous. Let me tell you who's laughing at that. You are.
I've been waiting
Nate,
for it.
okay, this is
Do you
what's crazy.
Google jokes at
We were
night?
talking about Nate Bargatze,
I love him.
and
He did great at SNL.
and somebody was like, he's threatened by another funny Nate. And I was like, oh my goodness, to even put them on the
Not
same
even-
playing
Not
Here's
field.
the
even
deal.
in the same
Be so-
stratosphere.
Be so we need to get me on SNL.
Yeah.
Like we need to
What
like
would you
yeah.
even do? Would you do stand up?
Yes, I do stand up and I do skits.
Hey, I got a real question.
Yeah.
You would be good
Did you
at the
try to
skit.
like cover that with your hair this morning?
No.
Is that what's
No.
going on up there?
No. Are you
calling
I see
him
a
out for
little
his
a little piece of gel right there
No.
where your hair's like stuck to your forehead.
Oh, well, there we go. Is that better?
All right. I guess
Oh
so.
my gosh. Anyway, so get me on SNL. There's enough listeners.
I want to let's have Nate Bargatze on the podcast.
I would
You think he's a believer?
love that.
I don't know. He's clean. Like his comedy's super clean.
Yeah.
Did y'all
We
hear
want to
that
know if you
he's-
know if is Nate Bargatze. Oh, you know what he does? I think he goes to Belonging Co. Or no, Church of the City in Nashville.
No
Shout out.
way. I love
Oh,
that
that's
show.
awesome.
Yeah. A friend of mine said they saw him there.
Did you hear what he's wanting to do?
Hey, if you know Nate Bargatze, we're gonna have reach out to him. We want to have a comedy showdown
Yes,
between
between
Nate.
Nate-
We're gonna
between
find
Nate.
out who's
Listen.
the greatest Nate.
I
Who's
will.
the funniest?
Who's
I
the
will
greatest great? Who's the
destroy
greatest
him.
Nate on the Becoming Something podcast?
I will destroy him. I'm not even intimidated.
Yeah.
We just
So yeah, if
Yeah,
you know
makes
him,
sense. I
let's
feel
get him
like you
on.
have more credentials. You know, You're,
you've
feel
totally
like
done stand up
you-
before.
SNL. Like
In
yeah,
your mirror at
sure.
home.
I'm sure you're gonna win.
To yourself.
I'm confident.
You made that really funny joke earlier.
Guys,
You're-
sometimes
you're
I just
golden.
listen to Be So, like I listen to every episode all at one night,
No.
and it just feels like, is
A
it
little bit
bad to
too
be like
much?
gluttonous?
Huh?
You can't be gluttonous about something that's not food, right? Oh,
I don't know.
You
actually,
definitely
you
can.
I take it back.
I'm
We
so
rewind
glad
the
that you're
tape.
no longer a minister of the gospel. She has
take it
retired.
back.
She's retired from the ministry.
As it came out of my mouth, I was like, no.
You can't be
You're an
gluttonous about anything but food.
But that's not
So what is gluttony? What,
overindulgence
in food?
in all the
Is
things.
overindulgence redundant?
Wow.
Can you underindulge?
Can you just
Interesting.
indulge?
Can you indulge
Is
enough?
indulging too much?
I think that's like the essence of indulgence is
So then-
excess.
No.
Overindulgence
Those
is
were those things
excess-
where
excess?
if you paid money to the church back in the day, you get your dad out of purgatory.
No. No. Why are you saying my dad's in purgatory, dude?
Gosh,
What in the world, man?
Not
Too soon, Nate.
How is
my
that?
gosh.
Why would you say that?
Man, that's not. That's not.
Come on, man.
I don't like. How
Is
I
this,
feel.
are you working on your
don't-
material for
I
Nate?
don't-
Because that's not
That's
funny,
not
man.
funny, dude.
Why would you say such a thing?
Oh man,
My mom listens to this.
Shout out.
That's not.
That is not kind.
What's the word you're
I'm
thinking
gonna
of,
shut
though?
down.
My dad is in heaven, man.
I know. I believe that.
Come on.
What
Wow.
word were you going for?
Indulgence.
Indulgences.
Yeah.
Indulgences are something that they used to pay to get
Oh yeah.
people out of purgatory if you subscribe to that doctrine, which I don't, but Nate does.
Okay, so what is gluttony?
Well, you tell me.
I mean, I just
So
don't.
far, this has to be top 3 episodes we've ever done.
I don't think that's something we ever think about. This episode's coming out Thanksgiving week, so you could be listening
Yeah,
to
I
it
see
whenever.
what you did there with the timing. Are we all gonna
Yeah,
feel
I'm
guilty
not like
on
trying to call
Thanksgiving
everyone
Day?
out.
Yeah.
I'm just saying like we celebrate
A day
eating
of
so much turkey and mashed potatoes that we pass out and feel horrible. And it's like, man, I don't think we think that could be a sin.
You've got to eliminate 2 questions. You've got to eliminate one dish. What do you eliminate?
Kathy's.
And then one.
Shut up, bro. You love my mac and cheese and my apple pie, and you know it.
Just keep going.
You can knock a lot about me, but don't knock that. I'm a good baker.
I'm just spraying. I'm just spraying over here. Lord help me. Sanctify me. Purify
This is
me.
how he's sanctifying me.
What is the dish that you would eliminate?
Why are y'all laughing?
What dish would you eliminate for Thanksgiving? Just answer the
I
question.
don't.
Just answer the question.
I don't like dressing or stuffing, whichever word you use.
I would say
Wait,
It's
what?
dry.
That's the best thing.
I know.
That's what you're eliminating?
I would take it out every year. I get one little bite just to say I had it. I don't like it. It's dry.
Like a no thank you bite? Is that what y'all...
Yeah, I just.
What in the world? It's
people call
dry
it
because you don't
dressing?
make it right. It's not supposed to
make
be
it.
dry.
do people call it dressing?
Yeah.
Some people do. They're dressing
Some people
or
do.
stuffing.
Wow.
What's yours?
Oh, easy. You like the sweet potato thing with the
No,
marshmallows?
that's so good.
Oh man.
That's ridiculous. You guys are the worst
No,
co-hosts
I
on the
didn't say
planet
that.
Earth. And I
What
don't
would
want to
you
come to your
say?
Thanksgiving. And I don't want your apple pie or your mac and cheese or your dry stuffing. I want
People don't actually eat the sweet
I want-
potato marshmallow
I
thing.
want
Everyone eats it,
dressing
bro.
with giblet gravy.
Ew.
And I want the
What's
sweet
giblet?
potato with the marshmallows, cinnamon, brown sugar, and pecans on it. That's like dessert. You
It
get
is,
2
but you
desserts
count
because
it
you
as
eat
a
that
side
and you can
dish.
still have dessert.
Hashtag gluttony.
Really? Well, here's the deal. I don't know if I've actually ever eaten it.
Dude, it's the
I just
best.
see it and I go, I don't want that.
It's the
That is
best. Eat it this year
quintessential Nate.
and let us know
You
what you
say
thought.
you don't like
Okay,
something that
deal.
you've never tried.
Yeah.
Oh
That
my
is
gosh.
you. What's your dish?
If I have to eliminate one,
Yeah.
oh man, I like it all. I'll be honest. If I've got to eliminate one,
Yeah.
and so I like this. I'm just gonna say it's not bad. If I had to eliminate something, I think I'd eliminate ham, because I feel like ham squeezes itself into Thanksgiving.
Okay. It's more
When
of
it's
like, a
like
Christmas
you
or
can do it at
Easter.
Christmas,
Mhm.
Easter, on your sandwiches for lunch at school, like all the things. So
It's just trying to
think
be too much.
It's like
Yeah.
it's like
it's gluttonous.
it's like Kathy on the podcast.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you're not really supposed to be here, but
yeah,
you keep showing up.
it's a pot calling the kettle. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
All right, guys.
So we're talking about
Should we wrap
gluttony.
up, guys?
Yeah.
We'll see you next
Have we
week.
said anything of importance?
No. Y'all don't even know where the Bible addresses gluttony, do you?
So here's what's really difficult. Right before we were about to record, I said something like gluttony is a sin, and I was like, I don't know where it says that. I actually don't even really know where I would start.
Yeah, Proverbs 23:20.
It's listed in like the 7 deadly sins.
Do not, which is not in the Bible. By the way,
it's right next to the 10 Commandments.
I am so glad you retired. That's a movie starring Brad Pitt. It's not in the Bible.
Well, it's listed in that list of sins, right?
It is?
Yes, in this chapter you're about to read.
Do you know
it.
that somebody wrote an amazing best-selling book based off the 7 deadly sins?
I did. It's called Why Do I Do What I Don't
Oh,
Want
wow.
to
Right, Book of Proverbs.
Right there.
Proverbs 23:20. Do not join those who drink too much wine or gorge themselves on meat. Proverbs 23:2. Put a knife to your throat if you are given to gluttony.
Wow.
Boom. It also says put a knife to your throat if you dine at the king's house, as another proverb. I don't know the address, if I'm honest.
So why would that be in there?
Man, it's a really fascinating question. Like, why would God care if we eat too much?
Man.
Like if we sit down and we just like,
list out the
hey, I just
reasons.
want to get stupid. Like I go out for Tex-Mex, and I can. There have been times where I've not demonstrated self-control with the chips and queso or chips and hot sauce, and my food will come.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, I forgot I ordered that. I forgot we hadn't eaten yet. I'm like full. I'm like gross full, and I haven't even like cut into my enchiladas. I think we do that with God. I think we can be so full on the things of this world that we sit down to pray, and we're like, I don't know, I'm distracted. I'm not thinking clearly. I think we try to make our home here when the scripture continues to call us to set our mind on things above. Romans 12:2, do not conform any longer to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And so I think that there's an aspect of it's a distraction. There's an aspect of it's unhealthy, right? That our body's a temple of the Holy Spirit who's in you, whom you've received from God, 1 Corinthians 6. And so we're to honor God with our bodies. We're to take care of our bodies. So there's an aspect that it's unhealthy. There's an aspect that I think when I say unhealthy, a lot of people think like obesity, but I also think like mental clarity.
Yes.
Like there are things that we can eat too much we're not feeding our brain. This past Halloween, Weston, he went trick or treating and he came back, and we should do a podcast, by the way. Can you celebrate Halloween? But clearly, I'm telling you my answer. He goes out and he trick or treats, and he comes home with candy, but there's like 20 open wrappers.
Oh,
and I was like,
no.
bro, what were you thinking? Like, you know better than that. And so we had that conversation. Well, that night at 3:30 in the morning, he woke up. He threw up all over his room.
Ugh.
And so like there's this aspect that like our bodies, we were made for just enough. The Psalm says the Lord is our portion.
Right.
Like that, and for the Israelites, when they were wandering through the desert,
You just stole what I was going to say.
he created, he provided manna for them and quail. And he said that if you stored up more than what you needed, it would rot.
Yeah.
And so like there's these principles in the scriptures that are so far from where we're at today that I think we're suffering consequences from living outside the biblical context that we don't even realize.
But why, why would God make you live in, so like with the Israelites, like why wouldn't he allow them to just take a bunch of stuff?
It's like the principle that he wanted them to depend on him for their daily bread. He wanted them to trust that he would provide what they needed tomorrow because he was providing what they needed today.
Yeah.
And that's probably still true, is that God wants that daily dependence from us.
Well, can you think of somewhere else he says that?
Like, do not store up treasures for yourself.
Yeah. I was giving Nate the chance to answer that.
Matthew 6. Can you think of somewhere else? Like really something everybody knows.
Everybody.
About daily bread? I'm the bread of life?
No.
Yeah.
Daily bread.
Give us our daily bread. The
Oh, the
Lord's
Lord's
Prayer.
Prayer.
Yeah,
Hey, we're
there you
getting
go.
there.
Let's go.
We're getting there.
Yeah, give us this day our daily bread. So it's like, give us today what we need today. And so, like, we just don't live like that.
Yeah.
I mean, even from a saving
Yeah,
standpoint.
that's exactly what I was just thinking.
Man, I've got so many thoughts on this. Like, even from a saving standpoint. So, like, we have an emergency fund.
Yeah.
But, like, aren't there all kinds of emergencies around us?
Yes.
You know,
They're
and
just
like,
not your
they're just
personal
not
ones.
our emergency. And so I think God made us for more of as more of a conduit, you know, not a container, a pipe, not a pail, to get his resources wherever they're going at all times. I think that, like, when we, you know, there's one person in the New Testament God calls a fool. And he says, I know what I'll do. I'll build bigger barns. He goes, all my barns are full. I know what I'll do is I'll build bigger barns. And God says, you fool, this very night your life will be taken from you. And so there's clearly something that God doesn't want us to have more than we need, because I think what God wants from us is dependence. And my favorite quote, not in the Bible, is if dependence is the goal, weakness is our advantage. And what that quote means is, if God desires us to depend on him, then it's not all that we have that allows us to depend on him. It's all that we lack that allows us to depend on him. And reality is we lack dependence on God because we have an abundance. Yep. And so many of us, we pray to God when we need something, like when we're afraid that someone's pregnant, you know, out of wedlock, or we're afraid that someone's sick, or they're dying, or they're, you know, or we're going to lose our job, or we need a job, or we can't pay rent. Like, we pray to God in those moments. Yep. And I think there's this aspect where God's like, hey, I want you to live in desperation. And I really struggle with this personally, because I see people in the scriptures who have excess. Like, I think of King Solomon. But then also that, like, carried his heart away. Yep. And so it's like, Lord, how do I pray that I wouldn't have more so much that I would be distracted from you? And like, we've you know, there's like situations in our house where we wrestle with this, like, hey, should we buy this car, or what should we have? It's like gluttony can play out there too. Another aspect where gluttony really plays out is just on the topic of pornography. Like, there's so many of you that are listening to this that on the regular you're indulging in sexual acts with two-dimensional images that are, you know, that you're not in a covenant with. And it's so normal. Like, I'm just blown away by how normal that has become, that, you know, girls, I get asked on Friday Q&A, like, hey, my significant other is regularly looking at porn. Is this a red flag? And I'm like, my goodness, like, your significant other is committing serial adultery, and you're asking, is that a red flag? Like, we have completely normalized gluttony. And sometimes when we talk about sin, like, gluttony is the one that we use to justify other sin. Like, they'll say, well, hey, don't do this. And it's like, well, you don't ever say don't eat too much, you know? And it's like, but we should.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We should teach that, not to eat too much. Like, when somebody's like, oh, I'm so full, I'm disgustingly full.
Yeah.
It's like, how come they don't, you know, we're not as comfortable talking around church people like, oh, I'm so drunk, I'm absolutely wasted. Or, oh, I looked at so much porn this week and masturbated. Like, oh my goodness. Like, how come we don't normalize those kinds of things?
Would you ever confess, like, man, I ate too much? Like, that feels
I've confessed
weird.
gluttony.
Really?
Yeah.
You absolutely should. Because the Bible says don't be gluttonous.
Well, to, like, treat your body.
Man, but that'd be so weird to do that
temple.
At, like, life group.
It's not weird. Like, our friend, we have a pastor here. Like, that's his deal. Yeah. Like, he tells the story of, like, sneaking into a bathroom stall and sitting on the toilet, like, fully clothed, eating a Snickers bar so that no one would see him. Like, he would just sneak food and candy and, like, he would hide jelly beans underneath his seat, the seat in his car. And it's just like, there's like this feeling around, and like, it owned him. And so, like, in the same way that nicotine or alcohol or pornography can own you, food can own you in that way.
You can have an addiction to food.
Yeah, you can have an addiction to not eating food too.
Right.
Yeah, that's another
like
part
eating disorders. We should do that. We should do a podcast on eating disorders.
But how can you tell yourself to say no? Like, when something's available to you, when you've got a buffet of food, it's like, man, I'm always going to get more than what I need. And when there's like, I don't know, I mean,
Well-
if there's a bigger house available to you, why would you not get that or a better car?
It seems like it's really cool today to not practice discipline.
Yeah.
And so like fasting, have we talked about
Sounds
fasting on here?
Not in a while, I don't think.
I don't
So
know.
like fasting, you go without, you strengthen your resolve to not sin, and Paul says, I've disciplined my body, I've made my body my slave, so that my body does what I want it to do. And so there's this aspect, if we just always do what we want to do, oh man, there's this beautiful verse in Philippians. He said, there are those who are enemies of the cross of Christ. Their destiny is destruction. Their God is their stomach. Their mind is set on earthly things. Let me go in reverse order. Their mind is set on earthly things. Their God is their stomach. That line right there, their God is their stomach, meaning they eat whatever they want. Like they follow the urges of their appetite. Their destiny is destruction, right? They're enemies of the cross of Christ. Wow. So like whoever thinks of walking up to the Thanksgiving spread and think right now I am enemies of the cross of Christ. So like my encouragement for us is like, man, to get on your plate just enough. Do not be excited to sin. I mean, like so many of us are like, dude, I'm gonna gorge myself on food and then I'm gonna pass out watching football. And I'm like, man, it is a sin. It is plainly, it says in the scripture, it is wrong. Like we should not do that. Philippians goes as far as to say, enemies of the cross of Christ, their mind is set on earthly things, their destiny is destruction, their God is their stomach.
What would you say, though, to people who could push back and say, isn't feasting a biblical concept?
100% it is.
So how would you define the difference between feasting and like eating too much in a gluttonous way?
I think feasting is eating things that taste really good. I think gluttony is eating in excess.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever thought about that. That's really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
I
It's
think when
like-
I think feasting, I'm like, I'm just going to eat as much as I want.
Man, every now and then our life group goes to a really nice restaurant and, man, we order the steak.
Yeah.
The filet.
Yeah.
And the sides and a glass of wine.
Yeah.
And it's
It's not
communion.
overindulging.
It's like,
Yeah.
hey, we're here and we're to reflect on the goodness of God. And like this is a celebration. Usually it's around someone's birthday or an anniversary
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something. It's like we're here, we're celebrating. And it's
good.
beautiful. But like if you get the 32-ounce ribeye, and the shareable sides that you eat all by yourself, and you drink half the bottle of wine, like now we have a problem.
I think going back to our pastor friend that confesses the sin regularly, I think he was probably the first person I know that's confessed it as a sin.
Oh, when he
Like-
said it, I was like, what?
I was like, oh, we're supposed to confess that. Then
Totally.
you should call me a glutton because I for sure eat too many Sour Patch Kids or whatever the thing is. So I think that's maybe where this conversation could be helpful in a lot of ways. But even to just get us to admit that the way we treat food can be a sin. And you can be gluttonous, obviously, we talked about, in so many different areas. But it needs
So
to be
what's
confessed.
the sin there? Like, is it like, man, you're seeking comfort from food rather than comfort from
Potentially.
God? Yeah.
I see like in spa advertisements all the time. It says in the word indulge.
Yeah.
You're like
Yes.
indulge, like come indulge, and like even like around like the self-care day, like come and just
You
treat
deserve this.
treat yourself, And like that mindset is not a godly mindset.
We're called to deny
right?
ourselves.
Yeah, we deny
up
ourselves.
our
Take up your
cross.
cross, follow Jesus daily. And so we're really not to feed all of the fleshly desires that we have. There used to be back in the day, there was this show on MTV called My Sweet 16.
Loved it.
Did you?
You can't
I for
admit
sure
that you
watched
watched
it.
an MTV show.
I just did.
Let's just all take a break and pray for
Please pray for me. I'll take it.
Kathy's salvation. I almost said Kelly, by the way. I just want to confess that.
No, you're supposed
I
to.
know y'all
you're
wish
so-
Kelly did
Dude,
it
she
to
gave you
me.
permission. Call her Catherine.
Yeah. I
That's
gave y'all
right.
permission. Y'all
That's
didn't
right.
do it.
Catherine, thank you for that.
Yeah.
I just have been so thankful.
What you're about to say is good.
Sweet
so,
16,
Yeah. keep going.
man. So like it was these kids, and on their 16th birthday, it was just like this blowout, bigger than any wedding you've ever seen. I mean, just crazy unicorns
So over
and
the top.
and like the car. They would get the car
Sometimes multiple
always,
cars.
yeah, always as the present. It was like the brand new whatever Lamborghini or whatever. Sometimes it's just like a tricked out Jeep or whatever it is. But that they would get the car, and they were just so excited to celebrate this birthday. And so much so that MTV made a show of it. And like, I remember just praying for those kids. I'm like, they are doomed.
Totally.
They don't have a shot.
Yeah.
Like, not a chance.
But wait, why
like
do you say
these
that?
parents are basically
Yep.
paying for their dysfunction and demise.
Why?
Think about that.
Why?
They are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on their destruction and demise. MTV should do another documentary
Where
on
are
the
they now?
follow-up
Yes.
That would be
to My
fascinating.
Sweet 16.
Yes.
Like, that would be fascinating.
Aren't they
to
setting
see
them
how
up for
they're doing.
success though?
Because I
Sweet.
guarantee you there's some mental illness
Totally.
there. I guarantee you that, I mean,
It's
you don't.
not good to get whatever
What
you want.
what do you not do with your kid? Like, what do you not want to do as a parent with a lot of resources to your kid? What's the word we use?
Spoil them.
Spoil
Yes.
them.
You
Think
don't want them
about
to be
that.
entitled. Yeah.
Think about what that, or somebody spoiled rotten.
Yep.
There's something there.
Yes.
We're saying that if you give someone
Yes.
too much stuff and freedom,
It messes
that they
them up.
turn bad.
Yep.
Wow.
Like the milk rots
Spoils.
Yeah.
and curdles and is disgusting and bitter. That happens to the human soul when you give it more than what it was meant to, when it
Totally.
has excess, that the human soul,
Yes.
the person
Yeah.
It's not
turns
meant for
bitter and nasty and gross.
Yeah.
Like, how crazy is that? Now, listen, are there exceptions? I mean, I know of some. Like, I know people that have had
Yeah.
what they had available to them is more than most people
Right.
I mean, if they want to take a private jet to the Bahamas in 2 hours, they could, right? And they turned out amazing, like depth of character, love Jesus, follow Christ, because they practiced the fasting, the denying themselves in the midst of the excess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
think
so-
that's key. I think this is reminding me of something that you said Sunday. So I'm just going to turn over to my Sunday notes here. But we talked about being comfortable in Christianity and how they don't really go hand in hand. That
Yep.
Christianity doesn't thrive in environments of comfort, which is my ditch. I want it to be as comfortable as possible. I want my kids to be as comfortable as possible. I want
Yep.
life to be as comfortable as possible. But you use that example of the tree that was like grown in some perfect environment where
Yep.
there was like everything it needed, the soil, the oxygen, the sunlight, but
No
there was
wind.
no wind.
Yeah.
And that tree, what did it do? It like fell over because
Yep.
it turns out you need the adversity of the wind to make the roots go deep.
Yep.
And I think that's the issue with gluttonous lifestyle in whatever way we overindulge, is that we're teaching and training ourselves to be comfortable and we're never denying ourselves. So then how are we ever going to deny ourselves in sin or to not be comfortable for the sake of the gospel? So
How do you like fix this? Like,
Well-
if you realize, man, I feel like I struggle with gluttony, whether it's food, pornography, whatever.
Think about if you like don't want to fast. So if we were like, hey man, please, I really don't want to fast. Like, don't make me fast. Like,
Man.
don't make me fast from something. So just like think if there's anybody out there, just hypothetically speaking, like starts with an N, ends with an E.
who like
Dang
say
it, I
in
was-
the challenge
was
of
hoping you-
fasting
Like
from
if there's
something once a
anybody,
year.
any person listening right now,
Yeah.
and you're like, man, I really don't want to fast.
I just
don't
don't
ask
want
me
to
to
do it,
fast.
so I'm not going to do it.
You absolutely, definitely, for sure,
Yes.
positively should,
Yes.
without a doubt.
Yes.
and I think there's only one way
Yeah.
to actually do it.
Okay.
It's you have to like tell someone else
Yeah.
to hold
All
me
right.
accountable.
So what are you going to fast from until we are back in this room next week?
Oh
What are you going to fast from? And they're going to fast from it with you. The whole, like all the listeners.
Oh, everyone?
Yeah.
That's good. Let's
We're
come
all
up
going
with
to
the
fast.
be
Let's
so
all fast.
fast.
Let's fast.
I've got an idea.
You call it
Taxes.
taxes. That's imprisonment.
Okay, didn't Nate one time every
You're gonna
year?
get to fast
Every
from-
year, JP tells us to give up something on staff for a whole year, and
Yeah.
one year Nate gave up not reading his Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
AKA
which is
nothing,
great.
'cause you
I'm
always
gonna read my
like-
Bible every
Yeah.
day.
Okay. What are you going to fast from?
Like the first thing that comes to mind is like Diet Coke or Coke Zero.
Okay. What's this?
But
That's just because you're looking at my drinks. Here, I'll tell you about that.
All right,
I
I'm
obviously,
in. I drink Diet Coke too. We good?
I was gonna say
It's
social
1 week.
media.
It's 7 days.
Okay. I like it.
I do too, Kathy. That's the point. I feel.
she just said
I feel like you don't understand how this works.
I was gonna be. I do have an addiction. Like, I love Diet Coke.
Yeah.
And listen to me. I'm gonna be honest about something.
Okay.
This is a real
okay,
thing.
Sorry.
This is dumb, but whenever people say, like, what's the thing you love more than God? Like, I feel like you yell that in sermons sometimes, and I'm like, nothing.
He does yell sometimes.
Well, y'all both. You've started to yell too.
I know.
It's called discipleship.
Yeah, I know.
Gosh.
I'm like, man, what have I turned into?
Seriously, we can talk about
Just-
it later.
It's always when
Turning
people
into-
clap.
Yeah, it is. That's why he does it. The clip goes viral. That's why. Anyways, this was dumb, but like the thing, I know there's like real things I love more than like probably fear of man. Like there's a lot of things, but Diet Coke is like the first thing that comes to my mind. And so I felt God say like, hey, why is that there? Like just, it's dumb. Like it's an easy thing to get rid of.
Yeah.
And so I was practicing giving it up every Monday just because it was like a way to deny myself something that I love because I don't want to be too comfortable. I don't want to love, even if it's Diet Coke, I don't want to love that more than God. And
Are we in? 7 days. 7
7
days.
days.
7 days. You in?
like, do we have the rest of this day or is like this the last one I'm drinking?
That's the
I
last
just
one.
need to know that.
That's the last one. Until next
Sorry, I should have picked something else.
Wednesday.
What the heck?
I,
My kids don't sleep all the time. You need caffeine. That's my caffeine, bro.
yeah.
Yes, of course we
I,
can do it.
I drink coffee now.
Oh, do y'all want to talk about it some more? I mean, I just want to make sure, like, because
Should I pick something easier that none of us use?
Yeah.
I mean,
I was
there,
like, never mind.
there are Christians literally incarcerated
Okay,
today.
I know,
mean,
I know,
don't know if we
I
need to
know.
go that route. I mean, we could bring
Let's
out
do it.
Sally
This is
Struthers
great.
and the sad
I've
music.
been feeling convicted about this. Let's do it. I think you going back to your. Are we really doing it? That's decided.
Sarah McLaughlin. That's what I meant to say.
What were you talking?
I don't know.
You brought up the question. How do we like actually not be gluttonous?
Oh yeah.
I think it's like if you notice your heart like overindulging in something, you just give it up.
Well,
Okay,
but
so we're all the three of us are giving up Diet Coke
Great.
or Coke Zero. Okay, sodas.
Yes.
Great.
No sodas for 7 days. You guys are with us. All right, no sodas for 7 days. If you don't drink sodas,
Coffee.
you should give up that thing you just thought about that you
Yeah.
thought I really don't want to give that up.
Yep.
You should give that up for 7 days. Let's go 7 days without it. Don't be ridiculous. Like if you're like food, I'm giving up all food.
No, we didn't
If you've
say
never done that before, I would not do that. I wouldn't start there 7 days with no food. But, fasting is a biblical principle, and it's one that I practice every now and then. I mean, practice often from something, but even like the traditional fasting of going without food is something that I practice.
And I'd say this again. Just tell someone
Yeah.
because I break promises with myself all the time, and it's not that big of a deal.
Totally.
But if someone else is in it with you,
And you need to call a sin a sin.
Yeah.
Like call gluttony a sin in your life group with your friends because it is the like pet sin that we all keep around. And as Christians, I think we're the worst of it. We have our big potlucks and we have all our big feasts and we eat a lot of food and we enjoy it and we don't even think about it twice.
Yeah.
But it is a sin.
And thinking about the pornography
No
example,
one else is admitting
I
it.
think
but you
one of
should.
the issues is that it ruins your appetite. Like for
Yes.
what God created your appetite to
Really.
be, gluttony messes it all up.
Yes.
So like pornography, man, it messes up your sexual appetite.
Totally.
Eating too much food messes up your
Yes.
hunger appetite.
Yes.
It's
So whatever
Messes
it
up
is
what's
that you're
normal.
gluttonous of, fast from it
Yeah.
and increase your appetite for God.
Yeah, man, there's something too, just what you were saying, like when you start to eat healthy,
Yes.
like healthy food tastes good, but when you eat Nerds Gummy Clusters,
It doesn't
man,
taste
healthy
good.
food tastes like trash.
We've
Like our taste buds are all messed up.
we've talked about it. I did that like health program 2 years ago. Love salads, crave salads, ate vegetables, 7 cups of vegetables a day for like a year and a half. Then I got pregnant and it didn't taste good because I was nauseous.
a year and a half.
I did it for a long time.
Wow.
Yeah. Because I
When
loved
you were
it.
riding the AI bike.
Yeah, well, I didn't quite do that, but Anyways, pregnancy, whatever, And then postpartum, just been enjoying all the sugar. And then Matt and I are recently like getting back into that healthy lifestyle. And it is like you don't crave vegetables until you eat them.
No sodas this week,
Yeah.
dog. Let's go.
So you're not going to want to do it, but do it anyways. And then the appetite will grow.
All right.
We can
Have
do
an
this.
amazing Thanksgiving, but no sodas. And we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Becoming Something, where we promise to keep the conversation honest and real for young adults in their 20s and 30s. Every moment we live is training for a future moment, and that's why we do this podcast, because we want you to be prepared for everything that life is going to throw at you. Our hope with this podcast is that it would help you become all that God desires you to be. To find out more, visit becomingsomething.com.